Higher here today, so I just decided I just need to know what.
And then he asked about someone's life. Brian.
Because I had Scott call a couple weeks ago. We were looking at doing something for
I'll call a meeting to order at 5:30, and first order of business is flag sale. We have a few changes. Item 7.2, we're gonna table that until the next meeting. And then, 5 reports and presentations. Tim's gonna go last after he's out of school, after Vicki does her report, and after the bus shop does their report. And then we will have executive session after the reports. Both of those people that signed up, those will be in executive session. So we'll do those after reports. First to Gru and Michael. Next, we need a motion to adopt the agenda. A second. Moved by Shelley. Moved by Shelley, second And, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. With changes that I mentioned.
Yes.
Vicky, you like school, you're on.
Okay.
Once again, welcome.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank you all for letting us come here. We, our relatives from Hidog want to share, a bit about their trip to Carlisle. And I also want to extend another thank you to all of you for allowing us to go. It was quite the experience from the plane ride over, the plane ride back, but, I'm glad that they got to go. And so I'm just gonna turn it on over to Lynette and, Miss Lydia, if you guys wanna share anything.
Relatives, and we take a good heart and a handshake. First of all, I want to thank the board for allowing us to take this trip. It was an awesome, awesome experience. And I'm really glad and really grateful that our kids got to experience this firsthand. It's a huge, huge component and part of our history when it comes to education as Lakota people. A lot of us found a lot of our relatives there. There was a lot of connections there that were made with this group of kids, and they really, really learned a lot. So right now I just want to turn it over to Lydia, and she can explain what they brought. And thank you.
Hi, I was here last time. I'm one of the teachers that went on this trip, and I teach social studies and science. And one of the things that we did in my room, we created 3D models of some of the buildings that we toured or that we got to visit in Carlisle. And so after the students read their speeches, or not speeches, but papers that we created in their English class, we would like to present to you just kind of some history behind the buildings that we learned about, and kind of the experience that they had in learning about the buildings, what they were used for, and also the process of creating them out of the clay.
Someone wanna go first? All right, you're good. Remember, loud and proud, guys.
Well, yeah, I tried making like the gym part of Jim Thorpe Hall. Didn't turn out great, but I tried. But one thing I learned about it is that kids built it around 1887, and it's now a gymnasium for a war college at Carlisle. And yeah. Huh? We went to Carlisle to visit the Carlisle Indian boarding school. And while we're there, we visited the grades, and I want to tell you what I learned. One thing I learned is that a man named Thomas Marshall was a student at Carlisle Indian School, and after he graduated, he went back to the school to protest. And while he was there, he killed himself. And while I was there, I visited his grave. Another thing that I learned is that they did outings, and outings were when a kid from the school graduates, and they are sent off to farmers to work. And the school made money off it. And while the kids are there, they would often die, and sometimes the parents would have to pay to get their kids' bodies back. I learned that kids, had to build Thorpe Hall, and Thorpe Hall is now an athletic facility for the war college, and I visited Thorpe Hall when I was there. Carlisle Indian Boarding School is an emotional, fun, and educational experience, and if I had a chance to go back, I would go because it was a great experience. So I look forward to doing some deep research about Carlisle Indian School because it is very interesting. I want to learn more about National schools.
właśnie na pierwszy rzeczy, що днішнього зла красомачапі на шинагала на шишанга на оголала oyate also solapa. I am a seventh grader from Hidog School, and I want to welcome you all here today, and I want to thank the Creator for another day, and today we're here is based on the presentation of Carlisle, and a couple of weeks back we went to Carlisle, Pennsylvania to visit it. The buildings, when we went there, when we went into the entrance, I already saw what was wrong, because they had the buildings still up. And on my opinion, the buildings were, most of them were made by our great ancestors, and a lot of them got tortured in there, and a lot of them died. And I didn't like that, on my opinion. And it was a good field trip. For me, it was a field trip at first. I looked at it like that. But when I went there, I got this feeling. It was a weird feeling. I can't explain it. I could feel the energy, like they still left it there. It was pretty scary. You can say it like that, or it was pretty cool maybe. My grandma always used to tell me stories about my grandpa Kodag and my grandma Christine Kodag. My Grandpa Kodag, he never went to school because my great-grandpa hid him from the soldiers when they came to take all the kids to the boarding schools. My great-grandpa didn't want his son to go, so he hid him from them because he didn't want his son to learn a different way. He wanted him to stay in his culture. And me knowing that they had a hard time, I can't imagine being put in a situation like that. You either eat or go on a hunger stroke because you missed home. They didn't travel by car. We went by airplane, but taking a train, imagine taking a train to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, getting your hair cut, but getting your hair cut, be called a name that you didn't even know, or you didn't even know the meaning of, or you don't know the language. And when you cut your hair in our local way, it means somebody passed away, like your grandpa passed away, your mom passed away. And the kids being so curious when they were there at the boarding school, they were so curious who passed away, so they ran away. They didn't care if it was snowing outside, or they didn't care if they were barefoot. They wanted to know who actually died. Parents had to buy, the boarding school sent their kids to farmers, and when they passed away, the farmers didn't care if they passed away or not, and their parents had to buy their bodies back. And this building I made, it was with my other student. He couldn't make it here, but it's actually a track field, and it's an Indian track field, and I tried my best on it, but what you do on there is it's either for track or football, and that's why they did splits. Thank you all for coming. Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, me and my friends went to Carlisle, Pennsylvania, along with teachers and our school principal. We went from October 27th to the 30th. We went to Carlisle to learn about the first boarding school ever. The thought of the school is to kill the Indians, save the land, but obviously that didn't work because we're still here. I learned that these kids were at a very young age, and also that they never got to go back home. I also learned that the teachers sent kids on outings and they died while out working on farms. They've been unknown ever since. I got introduced to an interesting site called Carlisle Indian School Digital Research Center. I also saw one of my ancestors on there. His name is Edward Eaglebear, and one of my other ancestors, and his name was Fred Hollenberg. It was very tragic knowing that H.E. Henry Pratt, the superintendent, made the students build some buildings themselves. For example, Jim Thorpe Hall. built sometime before 1887. And my project there is the building is called the Bandstand, and it was built in November 26, 1885. It was used for gathering everyone. When I first got to go see the bandstand, we visited the bandstand and it seemed really old and freaky.
Hi, my name is Bree. From October 27th to 30th, we usually like to visit the Carlisle, Pennsylvania to learn about the Carlisle Indians. It was really shocking from what they had experienced or what they had done. From them getting hit with rulers and not being able to speak words and just visiting all the graves and cemeteries, how many kids got hurt and ran away, what got sent back to school. And just seeing the campus from 1879 when it first started made me feel really emotional. When I went on the Carlisle Indian School Research Center, I learned a lot of new things from a lot of people that went to the Carlisle Indian School. Just visiting the Carlisle Indian School made me feel sad and at the same time. I learned a lot of new things this year about the Carlisle Indian School. I also learned that the kids at the boarding school built the gym that is now used as a fitness center for the Army. If I had a chance to visit the Carlisle Indian School again, I would. I feel like everybody should go to the Carlisle Indian School. It really inspired me to help bring those kids back.
Hi, my name is Juliana. I went to that school and one of the seventh graders that went on the trip to Carlisle. Seventh graders started on October 27th. We were in Carlisle until the 30th. On the Carlisle Indian School with the jury research. I learned that people at Carlisle would use the fines and cover for them. Since the Carlisle Indian School believed in kill the Indian cities and non-Carlisle would send people away to farms. Away to farms to learn the English grades. Some kids would run away from the farms, and unknown numbers of students had passed on and are still there at the farms. And we went to go visit the various sites. I felt bad for all of the kids that never made it home. It's sad that the school took kids away knowing they wouldn't make it home. My hope is to bring all of our relatives back.
Well, thank you guys for doing that. I just want to close off by saying, so the whole point of this trip was not to just expose them to all of the truthful hurts that happened there, but also to show them their resiliency and to show them that how we evolved as Lakota people. But so coming back, we have, anyone want to talk about that, the cultural part of this, how we ensured?
The culture way where we, the way we call the names back 4 times. And that's what you usually do when you go somewhere where you don't usually go. And that's, our way. And we smudged and we sang some songs there.
We also, to follow this up there, they're continuing research on this and looking at historical trauma. So we have Etheline Ironclad 2 Dogs coming in, and she's going to be providing training for the students next week. Any questions?
How much did the kids learn about the spirituality and the prayers that were said during the day? Can they share that with us? Who said the prayers, what kind of prayers were said?
Usually about spirituality, who said the prayers, what kind of thing. This one at White Hat, she said some prayers when we were at the gravesite. And she said a prayer to them that, telling them that they're gonna be making their way home, but not right now, when we're down there. And I sang a song, and it was a song to bless all the children, bless all the boys and bless all the girls. And I'm here singing a song. It was a children's song too, and it was a really spiritual time that time. And it left us speechless. To me, it left us speechless. And it was really, to me, it was really sad, and I felt like a really strong energy when I was there. And yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Hunter, you wanna answer that? Ethan, Hayden, anyone?
Well, I'm glad you guys had a good time, and it was very educational for you all, because it was a time in the period that was very sad for the people, and that it just demonstrated what our ancestors had to go through to survive. And that when you say your prayers now, when you go into the inipi or any ceremonies, you must thank your ancestors for all the suffering they did so that you may live today.
Anyone have anything else to say?
Okay, I just want to add a little bit. My name is Gabriel Redkettle, and drum consultant. Got a little papers here for you guys to look at, and start up top, Deborah. Anyways, here you go. This is just songs I've been working on with the students out there. We got like 12 songs so far, 13 songs. And then here's we got the Lakota words and then the definitions of each one. You can go through those, I'll leave those here, and then I have a few photos to go through on the back part. And also, on the last page, you guys want to look at this. I only brought one copy, I was going to hand them out, but wasn't enough time. I have a note. You can go through these, I don't know if you guys want to, but there's a note here and you should read that. And if you want to, we are going to sing a prayer song after we're all finished. Here we're going to sing a prayer song, and that's number 9. Has the Lakota words and the meaning to it in English. If you want to all look at that. So yeah, I brought that with. Thanks.
You're gonna sing now.
Yeah, you're all
Okay,
ready?
before you sing, Denisha wants to say something.
Okay.
Real quick.
Send it out.
Also, while I was there, I learned something that they had a right to their parents each month, but there was always somebody over their shoulder when they were writing to them. So it wasn't really, they were writing the letter, but it wasn't really in their words. It's like writing back to the soldiers that were at the place, or the people that were there. They were writing to their parents, and some of those letters were really we saw some letters there, and they're really unbelievable. To me, it was really unbelievable. And those children were talking about how they didn't really like our ways. So I learned that there, and I'm looking forward to looking into more of the history. And this just opened up a new page for me, because I'm learning more about the history, and I'm trying to stay in my culture. And that's what our youth should be doing, a lot of them.
Okay. So Denisha has a song to share, the child song. And after she sings the child song, the boys want to sing the prayer song. So we'll do that now, if you want.
Bless the little boys, bless the little girls of the world, bless all the children of the world, bless all the children of the world with a humble prayer, Yana yo in the Yana ho en ne yo. Yana yo in the Yana ho en ne yo. Yana ho en yana hey ne yo en. Yana yo in the Yana ho en. Yana yo in the Yana ho en ne yo. Yana ho en yana hey ne. Yana yo in the Yana ho en ne yo. Yana yo in the Yana ho en yana hey ne yo en. Bless the little boys, bless the little girls of the world, yana hey ne. Bless all the children of the world, bless all the children of the world with a humble prayer, yana hey ne. Yana yo in the yana ho en ne yo. Yana yo in the yana ho en ne yo. Yana ho en yana hey ne yo en.
It's like,
Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you.
You can leave the chairs, we'll get them. You can leave them, Gabe, we'll get them.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just put these ones away.
I knew you were gonna do that.
Well, you said it. I'm just kidding.
Next, I have the report from the bus shop, Brad Barton and Jim Williams. You're on.
Jim's got to sing, right?
Yeah.
Just recently, we had an inspection by the South Dakota State Fire Marshal, and we had to respond to each and every thing that they found. So I've completed that. We need to do update some lighting, some emergency lighting, and some exit lights. Need to inform the teachers about the rules as far as covering their walls with papers. And I know from experience that they don't listen. But other than that, we've finished. We had a major water leak up at the Rosebud School, which apparently been leaking for over a year. We got that fixed. And in the process of redoing the heaters up there in one of the trailers right now. We poured the little area in front of the elementary school, poured concrete in there. It was me and two of my guys that did all that work. Then we've just been doing the regular maintenance around. Of a lot of sewer issues. We're planning on redoing sewer line to one of the fourplexes in the very near future. If we do anything. Your school. Oh yeah, Oak Creek is up and running, and they're going to, we're working on tearing down the old Oak Creek. There's an engineering firm doing a analysis on how to remove that building, tear it down, get the land restored to usable condition. I think they're also doing a survey on the soil out in Edon, same company. Apparently at some point in the past there must have been a fuel leak. And they have a plan in place to go out and trench. There's probably 20 trenches going in that they're going to blow air into the soil to help alleviate the fumes from the soil. They were hoping to start that this fall yet, but I don't think it's going to happen. There's a little concern about where the IT lines run around out there. Nobody really knows exactly where they're at. So we also boarded up the old school. BIA is they really do not want anybody in there at all. We've had some issues with people wanting to go in and take pictures and stuff. We did let them in. There was a little bit of a health concern. I offered them all dust masks, and BIA offered them some white suits, which they all refused.
Oak Creek School, Chad, are we gonna do something about that front parking lot where that drainage ditch is? Cause I was down there after the last, and it's a muddy mess down there when it's really wet. Is there anything we can do to add there? Concrete that or something, or pave it? Cause they're tracking pounds and pounds of mud into that new building every time it rains.
Is that the trench in between where the current concrete is?
Yep.
And there?
Yep.
Maybe we'll have to look at it. Maybe would gravel work to come in there?
Certainly would help.
Anything would help.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, that'd be the route to go, but just hearing about it.
Good to go on the building now, right?
They were in there last week working on the final thing that's held up everything. It's been the intercom system and the locking system, so that when someone's in the office, you know, they have to check in order to open up the doors and stuff. So that's the final issue, and they were in there last week. I know they worked with our technology crew, and then I'm waiting to hear when we can do the final walkthrough. So.
Good. Yeah, if that mud can be solved, that would really help that building up.
The road itself is pretty.
It's pretty bad, yeah. I don't know if the tribe could get some more gravel on that now. I don't know what would help that, cause it's pretty bad. But right in front of the school is really bad, and that's what needs to be taken care of now. Those kids get off the vehicles and track all that mud into the school, and it's bad. So if we can look at that, Chad, see what, relieve that problem. Thanks.
Regarding transportation issues, we face the same challenge we face every year, and that's staffing. We're doing pretty well so far. Having doubling routes and stuff like that here locally, the biggest issue is we got a lot of schools now that are out in the country that we don't have bus drivers for. And I don't know what the answer to it is. There's somewhere down the road that's gonna have to be, maintenance wise, we're attempting to keep up on one person down, but that's been that way since he resigned, so. But we're doing pretty well. Biggest challenge coming up is the Lakota Nation. And as all of you know, we send, 15 to 20 vehicles up there. And as long as we don't have to send more than one driver, I think it won't be an issue. But if we have to send multiple buses, we're going to have issues up until that, there's no school on that Thursday, correct? And so that Wednesday would be the one big issue, so. But other than that, we're getting along pretty good, I'm hoping everything goes well. I see, Chad, you decided to deny that on them, and I don't have an issue with that either, because that just turned into a nightmare. I don't know why, but it did.
That's on the buses that we bid out. You recommend.
Those 3 minibuses?
Yeah, and we had issues with one of the 3 companies turned in the appropriate bonding. If we would have accepted their bid, it was looking at, I don't know, well, but if we would have accepted it, they would have been high bidders, and it would have been about $7,500 more. We looked at trying to get apples to apples, but we would have lost one defroster fan in the front. We would have lost a block heater in the back of each bus, and then a switch for a dome light, and it just didn't make sense to decrease the quality of what we were asking for in order to move forward on the project. So that's why I would ask for the board to deny, and we'll go ahead, if you approve, authorize us to re-advertise.
How many drivers you down, Jim? On the outline?
Oh, geez, I can't even, right now, because of an accident with one, Lakeview has nobody, so they're using multiple people driving small vehicles, same way with Spring Creek. We have, you were aware of that, we haven't had a driver there for a long time. Rosebud, I think, is one short. Oak Creek is just back to Suburbans again. So, all told, I think we have 4, let me see, He-Dog's surviving on 1. So we're at least 6 or 7 people short district-wide.
least that many. So and like I said, I don't know what the answer, it's a lifestyle change for most people. I've talked to people that have driven bus in the past, and they don't wanna give up their funny smoke to the CDL stuff because, it's a big deal, One time, just become a grandmother, and I asked this woman, you're a grandmother, I said, don't you think it's time? Well, I'll think about it. About 4 minutes later, she said, no, I'm not giving it up. And that's where we're at. I don't know what the answer is. I have said I don't think it comes down to money. I think it comes down to all the things you have to sacrifice to do that particular job.
It's hard to get them CDL licenses now, because I failed twice. I failed twice now, so. The physicals.
We talked about Spring Creek having issues with their vehicles, and they're using smaller cars. What's gonna happen during the winter time when the weather gets pretty bad for us?
No, they're using the Suburbans and 2 minibuses, and it's been that way for 2 to 3 years, yeah. And there's no answer for that because we can't fill that position if you don't have somebody, it's just, they're gonna have to do the best, and we tell them that, you gotta do the best you can.
Did you bring the buses back in then, Jim, or just leave them out there?
I've got 44 and a couple of them I brought back, I rotate them out, and if I have a breakdown, then I rotate them out and use them that way. So we're doing pretty well.
Jim, are all the cameras working on the buses?
Yes and no. You can never know when one of them goes down. So I would tell you probably 95% are working, and that's hopeful because there's no way of, there's 2 fuses in them, one goes out, it shuts everything down except the lights stay on, so you have no way of knowing that happened. and the other one, you have to physically stand there in order to see those lights anyway and look directly in it, and it still looks like it's powered up, and it's not. So there's no way of people knowing every day whether their camera is working or not.
Are they fairly new?
No, I've got some that are 10 to 15 years old. We try to upgrade whatever I'm allowed to do.
Well, most of them you can't even get those hard drives for anymore now.
Right, yeah, those are the ones, and, we're doing the best we can with them, but, so that you're aware, they're extremely expensive. For that particular REI is about $2,200 now for a 2-camera system on the bus, and they're not gonna get any cheaper. And you can plan on an upgrade on them about every 4 to 5 years. The technology changes, and that's where we're at with the older ones. We can't even get them repaired no more. If something goes wrong, then I have to put a new one.
Who got the new bus? Walt?
Walt and Everett, we got Walt and Harry, we got 2 new buses last year, and they're pretty happy.
That Spring Creek road is still pretty bad, yeah.
He's driving a little slower, it's taking him quite a while to get through there, but that's a brand new bus, and I told him it needs to last for a while. That's about all I have.
Any questions? I pass buses a lot, so I do call bus shops a lot, both schools. So I mean, any issues I call, so. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thanks.
You guys want a bathroom break before this one?
Just get it over.
Just get it over with. Well, that was the first time that I ever attended a session like that, and it was quite interesting. There wasn't a lot of things. Most of it was just changes to the wording. They were just changing the wording to most of them. But there were a couple that they brought up that were pretty interesting. I can go through these one by one, or you guys want me just go over the important ones? But there's a lot of them. For one, it's like, for the first one they dealt with is the delegation assembly shall hold one meeting annually. Then they changed 3 words, so they have to vote on it. Which shall constitute instead of in conjunction with. The annual meeting of the corporation, just things like that. They changed 3 or 4 words and all these, and you have to vote on it. Most of the ones that are just changing of words, directors and officers, they just changed some words in those. They did all agree with standing positions on diversity and equity, health and wellness, Native American Indian education, public school choice stays the same as revised in 2015. Reorganization stayed the same. Student achievement, they all stayed the same, so nobody even voted on those issues. If you want me to read those to you, I can, but
Can you keep us copies?
I can have somebody copy all of these and how they voted. Okay, there's a couple of them in here that were pretty interesting. These are all changing wording. Government and transparency stayed the same, just a couple words. Safe and secure schools, they just changed a couple words here and there, but nothing's changed actually. School finance, Chad, everything's the same. Technology's still the same, but the one that might interest Chad is, I'm trying to remember where it is. They changed the funding on one of them. Where is that? I thought I had it marked. I'll come by it here. I'm going through this and I'll remind you. Okay, the resolutions, one of them is achievement, equity, extracurricular activities, free participation. They just changed all of these the same. Everybody voted yes. Receiving alternate instruction, homeschool introduction was very interesting on the discussion there.
It's been an issue.
And yeah, and they're trying to change it to where the state sets up, the state starts investigating homeschool activities, and the state wants the schools to do it. So that's still a big fight going on yet. So far, they're just gonna leave it where the state's investigating, which they never do. And the other thing was, a lot of the schools don't have alternative programs. And so, kind of spoke up a little on those that we have a program that's still it's changing constantly. It's expensive, it's really expensive. And a lot of schools are not even looking to go in that direction. So they just don't want to deal with it, actually. Anyway, the thing is, Chad, the 3%, I don't know anything about that. They want to change it to 1% of the gross CPI index.
Yeah,
to
as far as the
3%.
index goes.
Okay,
yeah.
so you know about that, but, okay. And, otherwise, accountability waiver process, commitment to the half-penny sales tax, they're not doing anything with that. Human resource management's not changed. State education mandate, none of these federal mandates are all the same. They just voted to go ahead and keep it up. Medicaid service reimbursement, school nutrition, they're leaving it up to the schools to decide yet on what's best for diversity. So maybe they get fried bread more often here, I don't know. They haven't changed anything on that. Here's the good one, there's 2 of them. What is that, LBGT bathrooms? That was a big argument. And some of the schools just outright were not gonna do it. They were, you have to go with what you were born with, and that started a big fight. So a lot of that stuff is like for instance, Wall is the one that said at their sporting events, they are not gonna provide anything, they have to go to where you were born with. And then so it came up, who's gonna inspect? You know, that thing came up, who's gonna inspect? So what they've decided to do is just let it go, follow federal policies, and go on with it. But I couldn't believe how the fight was on that one. The other one was compulsory school attendance. They wanted to add GEDs to the law, and that was a big fight. And I don't understand why, because if they get a GED, they're considered out of school after that, at that point. And a lot wanted to add it to the law. So what they did was they just said no to GEDs and just left it the way it is and voted yes. That took about 45 minutes of fighting on that. Anyway, here's that one, Chad. As I told you, they went from 1% of the gross product to 3%. And then one school spoke up against that, and that was on the eastern side. I said that hurt them more than anything. I don't know how, but Here it is, the use of bathrooms, that's the one that they finally just left it as is. Legal and financial protection for compliance with state law, the only thing they changed, they wanted the state motto included in on that, or in God we trust. That was included in that. Safe school resources, they just changed the wording from recent incidents of violence in schools is causing a revelation of school safety. They took that out and said, school safety plans are continuously evolving and essential to ensuring a safe environment, thus additional resources are needed. That's what they changed the wording to. Alternative instruction, we just discussed that. Schoolwork training, everybody wants that, so they want more of it. This 2-year advanced enrollment averaging is gonna stay in place for their budgeting. So how do you understand that? Instead of doing it by year where it fluctuates too much, they all want a 2-year averaging enrollment. Capital outlay adjustments, that's the one. Here it is, Chad. They're gonna amend the additional 2,800 cap on the funding and allowing school districts to levy up to $3 per $1,000 of evaluation. Do you understand that?
I do.
I
It
don't.
used to be that way prior.
Okay.
Just to give you an example, for Todd County right now, we're able to about $2.93, so. Just to let you know.
Do you understand that? I don't. Protecting school district valuations, nothing changed. Taxation, they removed it completely, and since it was proposed deletion, reason for deletion is the school board association does not believe that this is an issue that needs a position statement. They wanted to, what is it? With more than $1 billion in exemptions to sales tax in South Dakota, serious consideration should be given to which exemptions are essential and which can contribute to sales tax revenue. They took that all out. School funding, what's the Partridge Amendment? Anybody know what the Partridge Amendment is? Okay, I'll read it.
Okay.
No, it just says what they're trying to do is the association supports legislation giving the legislature the authority to decide whether or not to reduce the state sales tax by 0.1%.
It's named after the legislator who lives in the States.
Okay, anyway, so that's a new one. The rationale is revenue collections must be suitable in order for the state to meet its financial obligations, such as providing the statutorily required increase in state aid to education. The legislature, as the government stewards of the state budget, shall be allowed the latitude to decide if lowering the state sales tax rate is feasible on whether or not revenue collections as a whole will meet the state's financial obligations to public education. So that's a new one. And the last one was repurposing federal funding for school choice expansion. They voted yes. The whole thing, the association opposes the repurposing of federal funds in order to expand non-public school choice options. The rationale is repurposing of federal funds to expand non-public school choice options would have lasting effects on public school programs that originally received these funds. The use of public funds to expand school choice damages public schools by removing dollars dedicated to those schools to support students in a multitude of programs. I'll send a copy of this. The biggest thing is that the association here is fighting, they are not gonna approve or, what's the word I'm looking for? Endorse, yeah, the charter schools. They never will. The reasoning being, Chad knows that they don't wanna fight for funds. It's fighting for competition. So that's it.
Thank you.
Mhm. That was fun. I like to watch people
It's
argue.
interesting.
We'll go into executive session.
Consent agenda?
Consent agenda first.
Consent agenda. I'll move.
I'll second.
By Linda, second by Michelle.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
5-0.
Yeah, contract offer.
That's getting tabled, right?
Yeah.
The Todd County School District in White River. How are we gonna handle that now? We want them to contact Carol, or you want them to come to the next meeting?
It's a parent push, it's not necessarily White River School District. So, White River does not have wrestling, but, the student has done AAU wrestling with our kids, and that's how it initiated. So, Superintendent Cameron contacted me with that as kind of like a base to start with. So it's more of a parent request. I don't know how many wrestlers there would be total, but that's how that initiated.
Yeah, we had questions about how many students,
I don't
did
think it's a
anybody
lot.
talk to the coaches?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's kind of been in, yeah, and I kind of quizzed Chuck, in the past, how that worked, and, the middle school wrestling coaches are aware, so, as far as I know, no one objects, so,
You're all in favor.
yeah.
Well, again, I'm gonna say that Sapalu asked to participate in some activity last year, we said no, so I think we set a precedent. And if it's just one parent, I don't think we need to make all these changes for one person.
If we get some information for us,
What additional information would you
just
like?
how many students are participating and
Just more information rather than just bringing this to us.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's,
How many students,
how many events are we anticipating? I don't know, what do you think?
Who's the wrestling coach at the middle school?
hold on to that, Chad.
Albert?
Oh.
Is Albert still coaching?
There are many verses.
Okay. Are you gonna skip over 8 before we go to executive, or we gonna do that one?
We can do 8, and then just have executive session.
So,
Right.
7-2 was tabled, correct?
Yep.
Yes,
Yes.
7-2 is
Table,
table,
more
that's the
info.
one, yeah. Item 8-1, administrative contract for curriculum director. Do we have a motion?
Are you happy?
She's very, very qualified.
Who was on your interview committee?
Tiana, Chris, Jan Epke, and Patrick John, and myself.
And you still involved Jane?
No, I kind of left it the way it was. Tiana and Chris both have curriculum degrees. Jan, just a good representative, and we eliminated one because she was actually a candidate, so that's why it was one less. And then Patrick just went through the curriculum process, so that's why he was, and it was Bob before that, but that didn't work, so Patrick was willing to do it, so.
You need one, so I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Moved by Tim, second by Shelley. All in favor?
Yes.
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 5?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was
Moved and then.
Oh,
Moved
no,
and didn't
no.
vote.
Oh, no. Do we need to take a short break before
Yes.
executive session?
Bathroom
And then-
break.
And then we'll do,
Who's
Steve.
signed in first?